Hello, this is DL, and this is episode 5 of Awareness of Thinking. Today is going to be an overview of propaganda, and then we'll get into some of the various types of propaganda in the next video. So, what is propaganda? Wikipedia defines it as a communication that's primarily used to influence an audience and further an agenda, which may not be objective and may be selectively presenting facts in order to encourage a particular synthesis or perception, or using language in order to produce an emotional rather than a rational response to the information that's being presented. In other words, it's manipulation. Short and sweet. So perhaps it's self-evident to you how closely related propaganda is to bias. Propaganda is dependent on our biases and the ignorance of our own biases. It may not be enough to be aware of our biases to defeat propaganda, but we don't stand a chance without it. As long as we remain ignorant to our own biases, we remain vulnerable to manipulation by others. So some Q&A around this. Isn't this what other governments do? So I mentioned the projection bias in the first video and in video number 4, which was about bias types. This is the perfect place to talk about that. So ever notice how governmental regimes are quick to call out what other regimes do as propaganda, yet you never hear them admitting to their own campaigns. But one thing is certain, just as biases are a pervasive part of human nature, propaganda is a pervasive part of any system or organization. It's all about image. It's all about control. The level of that control may be to merely influence your buying decisions, as in an ad campaign. Or it can be to instill in you a deep hatred and fear of a group of people who are different than you, or just far away. Whether as seemingly innocent as a new cell phone ad to get you to open up your wallet, or as nefarious as a news story claiming weapons of mass destruction in order to start a greatly contested war, or even worse, a scenario meant to strip you of your power to question authority, you are being played. How are we being played? So this is just an example that I experienced, and I don't want you to think so much about the context of this experience so much as what was missing from the experience. So a while ago, my partner and I were watching a spy documentary on Netflix, and I didn't make it to the end because I was so disgusted with the lack of proof that was being presented. There was so much assumption and the expectation of me accepting and swallowing that assumption. It was vilifying the enemy and all they were doing to destroy our way of life. Now, I'm not questioning that espionage is real. It absolutely is. And just like propaganda, all sides do it. I know there are traitors and fools for money who would betray anything for the right price. I'm not questioning that. But they do exist on both sides of the aisle. The thing that I question, of course, is the fact that the proof or the validation to these things being presented is not clear. It is not transparent. It's not even there in a lot of cases. The stories that are showcased aren't necessarily the ones we need to be worried about. It's the ones we don't know about. Rather, they are or tend to be the ones that are set up to make us think in a certain way. I also know that the mere story one tells about someone is often enough to turn him into a villain when he merely represents another way of life, a life threatening to some status quo. So the challenge with sense-making is that we make it both hard and complicated when it really isn't. Instead of following the very simple rule of trusting only our direct experience. And I'm not talking about trusting our own thoughts, because thoughts are not to be trusted. Our direct experience is the only thing that can be trusted. Instead of following the very simple rule of trusting our own direct experience when declaring fact from fiction, we take the easier route. We let others decide for us because it gives us some semblance of safety and security in an unsafe world to believe what we are told, made to see, and taught to think. But every time we do, we are abdicating our authority and playing into the hands of those who are all too happy to supply only the information they deem is necessary to sway our opinions. The human being, all human beings, myself included, tends to like certainty and tends to abhor the uncertain, the unknowable, the inexplicable, to the point that we sometimes ridicule things that can't be understood. And it takes a tremendous amount of both courage and humility to learn to live with the uncertainty. And that's what is required in order for us to overcome, or at least transcend to a beneficial amount, our own biases and the way that propaganda plays us. So a word of caution here. I want to make it clear that just because something looks like propaganda, or even if something actually is propaganda, it doesn't mean that it's not valid. It doesn't mean that it's wrong. It doesn't mean that it's unjustifiable. Whether or not it is a matter of discernment for you and you alone as a thinking person. Propaganda is everywhere, and in some ways one could say that anything and everything is a form of propaganda, because we are all trying to control the image we project. So we have to be careful not to take a little knowledge and turn it into another reason to judge and fear or make ourselves right and others wrong. The knowledge is only here to help you become more aware of yourself and how you think, not to win you arguments. So you be right for you. Let others be right for them. Everyone learns in his or her own time, and everyone has different lessons to learn. We get into other people's business, and it's not our business. Stay in your business, stay centered, make decisions for yourself, and don't expect anyone else to agree with or go along with your decisions. So that's our overview for propaganda, and as I said, next video will be all the different types of propaganda. And if you're interested in knowing when I drop another video, it's important to like and subscribe to this channel, and also hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when I drop the next video. Also, please do feel free to comment. I would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.